Hello, everybody, and welcome back to HVAC Shop Talk. My name is ZACK, and I got more screens than NASA. That's just what I'm used to here. Screens everywhere. Try to keep your glasses low. Don't let the light shine on them. Oh, crap. Oops. No. Oh, crap. Oops. Yeah. Carefully placed lights for those of us with glasses are very, very difficult to deal with because they always reflect off of the lights, just like the computer screens and all sorts of stuff. Guys, I hope you're doing well out there. I put a little poll up there, and I don't think... it didn't have too much action so far, and I think we're just going to call it right there. Just a little half and half before the show started. I'm trying to put a little poll up before each show so you guys can kind of have some fun and vote on some stuff. I asked, do you want to change jobs or companies in the next year? And you guys, half and half, yes and no. So some of you want to leave your companies, and some of you are happy where you're at, which is good. You should be happy where you're at. I hope more of you become satisfied with where you're at. I think that would be the best for everybody. It's a progress. You know, you make progress throughout your career, though. You got to start somewhere. All right. So just to hit the highs and lows here before we get into business. Let's see. Let me think of all the highs and lows I can hit. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on the TikTok. Yep. We are on the LinkedIn. LinkedIn's like for, I don't know, for job purposes and stuff. I don't know. I'm on LinkedIn. So if you're a professional, you're on LinkedIn. You can find me, HVAC Shop Talk. There's a lot of those guys out there, the guys you see on the podcast, like your Eric Kaisers, your Brian Orrs, your guys like that. They're all over there on LinkedIn sharing stuff, very profound and awesome stuff. So you can go over there on LinkedIn and find me too. And I am just putting up the same crap I put up everywhere. So really, when you're watching YouTube here, you get like the long form stuff where you hear, or on the podcast, you get the long form stuff. You got like an hour of listening pleasure. Well, on Instagram and TikTok, you get like some short clips and stuff, which is kind of nice. So it is cool to be on both of them. Mr. Chili says most people don't leave their jobs because of the work. They leave their job. Say, hold on a second. Most people don't leave their jobs because of the work. They leave their jobs because of the management. Hey, that's true. If you don't like the manager, that's a big problem. If the boss man's a jerk, he's a super jerk, I could totally understand that. Jerry Lockhart, happy Father's Day. Absolutely. I want to say a little bit about Father's Day here. I am a father of 4 children. Little Jackson is almost 4. We have Mallory and Landon, my twins. They'll be 16 here shortly. My son Andrew, who is away at the Citadel camp, he is 18. He's going to be 19 in November. It seems like time flies. I can still remember not too long ago that I was playing with Andrew in our living room at our old house, and he was dressed up as Buzz Lightyear. And we had like fake guns or something, and we would do like this maneuver, like I'd go, yeah, and he'd go right next to me and go, yeah. And I still remember that just like it was yesterday. I still remember Mallory when she was a baby, and I was in that same house, and I would jump up on the couch, and she couldn't get onto the couch, so she would start to cry and roll around on the floor because she was frustrated, because she was too little to get up on the couch. And it's just an amazing thing being a father, amazingly difficult. And I find that one of the most difficult things is to get past a certain age and you look back and say, I should have done so many things differently. So many things differently. Clint says he has real internet now. Hey, that's nice. You got Starlink. I'm not sure what Starlink is. That must be like a satellite deal, Clint. Maybe it is. So Clint has some real internet now. So I guess that means he's going to be way more interactive on the show now. Probably see Clint on the air now. Clint's like, I don't think so, man. I don't think so, man. I just got better internet. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get wild. Okay. So you know I'm on social media. Obviously, here I am. This show becomes a podcast. I do podcast releases every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So there'll be one out tomorrow, which will be last Thursday's live stream. And it goes like that. You get a few day lag on each one of those. So podcast or all over the, whatever. If you have an iPhone, there's a podcast app on the iPhone. Just use that. If you have an Android phone, you can use Google Podcast or Stitcher or whatever. Whatever you want to do, you can do. If you want to support the show, you can throw up a like. I say this is the easiest ways to do it. Put a like. If you're listening to the podcast, you can leave a review. I would really appreciate reviews on the podcast because I think that does a lot for the podcast. And I just want to let me stop and thank you guys because the podcast has had its best 3 or 4 months ever in the last few months. I mean, it was so much better than like last year. Something just I have a theory, which maybe I'll go over it sometime, but we went like 2 or 3 times as big as we were last year at this time. I don't know, but I am so grateful, guys, for checking out the podcast and listening to it. It's awesome, and I just want to say I really appreciate it because, yeah, like I said, without people watching and listening, this don't mean nothing. I mean, it's just talking into empty space on the internet. Clint says, I can watch the actual television now. Well, that's nice. Very nice. Cool. I know that in some places, if you live far off the main drag road, that is, or you're in a remote area, sometimes you don't get Time Warner or Spectrum or Charter out there with high-speed internet, and you have to make do with what you got. So when that high-speed internet rolls in, I was in this position back in 2009. I'd never had high-speed internet before. Dude, we were using People PC. I don't know if you guys remember that. People PC was a version of dial-up that would not, it wouldn't give you all your pictures in high resolution in order to save that bandwidth, so it would load faster, and it was okay for us, but we couldn't do anything. Like, you weren't uploading videos and stuff like that. Dial-up was the slowest. 57,000 kilobytes maximum, something like that. I think it was kilobytes maximum, 57,000. It was horrible. It was horrible, but 2009, we got DSL, which was 3 megabytes download speed, but it was like the world just opened up. And it was so much faster now, good grief. I think I have like 700 megabytes of download speed and 40 megabytes of upload speed. It's like a completely different world, and it's awesome. It's awesome. That's right, AOL's got You Got Mail. I had to check my Hotmail a little while ago because my son has like an Xbox account that my old Hotmail is hooked up with. It's weird because I haven't used Hotmail in a long time. I remember using Hotmail in like the late 90s. That's how long ago that was. Late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Guys, you see some links on the screen. Hey, good, it worked. Our little Nightbot friend is back, but not to tell everybody they're spamming. It's just here to tell us these links. That's all. So there's an email list down there. You sign up for the email list, and I'll send you links for the shows when we're going live. So you always have that. If something different or special happens, I'll send out an email for that. But mostly it's just going to be what time the live stream is and the link for the live stream. I also have a member deal right there. So if you want to become a channel member, which is going to be really, really important coming up, and I'm going to tell you guys a story here in a little while, and I'll explain why your memberships, those of you who are willing to do it, are going to make a huge difference on this channel, because there's going to be, well, I'll just explain it in a little while, but you can use that link right there. It'll be back later in the show, and one more link is Instagram. So I figure, you can go to TikTok or Instagram, and Instagram is probably the most friendly of all those. So Sam Andrews says, who is Nightbot? Nightbot is just a chat bot that I use, and all it is just dropping some links in there, and that's all that it's supposed to do tonight. But back in the day when I used Nightbot, sometimes it would like delete people's comments if like there were too many symbols and stuff, but all of that stuff should be disabled. So there should be no Nightbot interfering with stuff. So we'll see. But back in the day, he was a real jerk. He could really get on everybody's nerves. And at some point during the old chats, it was actually funny to have Nightbot come in there because it was like every 3 seconds he was doing something. It was haywire, but also kind of hilarious at the same time. He should be way more structured tonight. No, it's not a scammer. It's intentional just to drop those links periodically into the chat so if someone wants to use them. And that's awesome. And like I said, I'll explain about the channel membership later, how that's going to be like an important thing going forward. I think we'll see how things go, but there's definitely a story I want to tell that's going to explain why I think they're important, as far as we'll tune into that in a little bit. Okay, so what I wanted to get into first, I wish everybody a happy Father's Day. Hope all the fathers out there had a good day, and I hope you got to do whatever fathers do, which is usually like we cut the grass or something. I actually went over to my brother's house, and my father and mother came over, and my 2 brothers came over with their families, and we all got together and had hot dogs and hamburgers, which is pretty typical. But I hope everybody had a good day, got to do something you enjoy. If you didn't have family over, then you could cut the grass or whatever gives you your kicks. If you're BIMCO, maybe you played Rocket League with all of your other friends on the internet and got to play in a quiet room. Because that's all that fathers want. After a period of time, all we want is quiet so we can just sit in our chairs. I never thought I'd love quiet so much until I had 4 children. And I realized that quiet was like gold. It was gold, man, and it was hard to come by. So I love it. I love quiet, and I understand fishing now, why people would want to go fishing. Or just whenever your grandpa sat on the porch and looked at cars going by, I was like, what's he doing out there? I totally understand now, and I've actually sat on the porch for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes before, just chilling, watching cars going by, going, I think that's an Acura. Seemed like a great idea at the time. Seemed like a great idea. Guys, if you are watching this show, feel free to join the live chat. If you're here on YouTube Live, interacting with everybody. We have a pretty good group right here. Pretty nice group. We shouldn't have any of this hateful badness in this part of social media. We'll see. If there's any hateful badness, we'll take care of it. But please, I encourage you, if you're watching this, to interact, especially if you have something you need to know or want to talk about. Whether that information comes from me, an answer that is, or from the chat, you won't know until you put it out there. So make sure you interact. And hey, it's the internet. If all the people turn hateful all of a sudden, all you got to do is close the browser. Everybody goes away. So it'll be all right. And that's what's great about the internet. Except for me, I can't close the browser. You guys are like, what the crap is he doing? Anyway, number one, the first thing I want to talk about tonight is something I was thinking about this, and I called it grinding it out. Grinding it out. And this is coming from an HVAC business perspective. Because it looks like whenever I talk about business, guys are like, hey, all right. And some other things I talk about are like, hey, don't ever do that again. So let me talk about business right now. I'm sure we'll get back to things that you guys don't want to hear about. But I was thinking about this because when I went into business, I was thinking to myself that, okay, I love being a technician. And if I'm a good technician, and we've mentioned this several times, we'll be good at business. Or not necessarily that we'll be good at business, but we will be granted by the higher powers a successful business if we just try hard and we're good technicians. And what comes back to me now so many years later was what I think about is life is not fair. Life is not fair in any way, shape, or form. So life not being fair and all, and that's how life goes, you're not typically blessed with a huge amount of success out of nowhere just because you tried hard or you try to do all the right things. You're not automatically going to get all this success out of just thin air. It's not going to come quickly, and you're not going to automatically get it. You may never get it. See, that's the thing about it. People say you work hard and you have success in life. There is no guarantee of that. That's one of the reasons why working hard is so difficult. Not just from the manual labor part of it or the mental strain, just because you're not guaranteed that you're going to make it anywhere in life. You're not guaranteed that the next corner isn't just a piano waiting to fall on your head, so to speak, a proverbial piano. There's no guarantees. And when you're in business, that's a chilling fact that there's no safety net there. We love to think that, and we're told that you work hard and you can be anything, but that's not true. That's not true, because you can work as hard as you want for as long as you want, and nothing may ever happen for you. Now, I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm just trying to tell you guys that when you open a business, 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2. You have to work hard despite knowing that you may not go anywhere and your business may close, and that may not be what you're destined for as far as that business. It may not be to the second time around when you get a little bit more wisdom that you will make it big or medium, and that's a whole different perspective. What is success? Now, we're talking in a business framework, so we're not going to say because I love Jesus and Jesus loves me. We're talking about business success. Business success is being able to support yourself. This is how I define it. Being able to support yourself, support your family, and have some left over for some leisurely activities. Like, I was over at my brother's house today for Father's Day, and we saw his brand new couch. This brand new couch was like this L-shaped sectional deal. You guys know what these things are. They have like recliners built into them. You hit a little button, it's like, and you lean back and your feet go up in the air and you feel like you're about to go to the dentist or something, but it's super comfortable and awesome. So I'm sitting in this beautiful chair made out of microfibers, which I'm not sure what exactly that is, but it's made out of microfiber. And this thing, because my wife looked it up when we got home, it costs like thousands of dollars. It's like thousands of dollars. And here I am going to Big Lots to try to pick up a sectional that costs $800 or $1,000 thinking, wow, that's expensive. All that I want out of my business is to be able to get a few nice things, have my family live the life that they deserve, not in excess, but just not have to worry all the time. Because we've battled before. My whole life's been a battle as far as going up and down and facing different challenges. And you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys face challenges too. But you always get kicked in the teeth and you're expected to, I don't know, you feel like giving up. But you can't, because everything moves forward. Whether you're going or not, you're getting drugged forward. So you got to continue pushing forward. And it's difficult. And it's difficult when you have, let's say you start a business and there's another guy who starts a business. And that guy's business, for some reason, just takes off, whether he's more talented or he's luckier or whatever the reason is. It just takes off. It's difficult to see that happen and struggle simultaneously. And that's just a challenge that you have to overcome. You almost have to push this stuff down in your gut. It's like when I tell my son, it said it's time to be a man. He went away to college. He struggled. Now he's doing a lot better now. It's the third week of his being at Citadel, and he's just, for the first time, and I know he's doing better because the texts are less frequent now. So before it was like text. Get me out of here, break me out of here, whatever. And now he's good to go. There's less text. He seems to be hanging out with his friends and having a good time, going down to the beach in Charlestown, going down to the Folly Beach and going to eat at the pizzeria. So I know he's having a good time. But I told him, I said, you got to be a man about this. You're 18. You got to be a man now. We can't walk out the door and run away every time something challenging comes along, because you'll never get anywhere. You'll never be a man. You never become a real man until you face these challenges, and a few of them become notches on your belt. And I think that's part of it. This whole thing is messy. That's something I never realized. Running a business, being a man and being an adult, it's a messy process. You make a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of fights, both real and figurative, and you have to keep your head up and keep moving forward. Because as soon as you think you're going to bow out of this thing, like I said, it moves forward whether you're going or not. So you might as well keep pushing forward. Now, I talked for a while on that one right there, but I did say you can't expect success after a short period of time. You don't know when the success is coming. I was just mentioning how the podcast was doing really good these last few months. Well, the podcast has been out for 5 years. And for 5 years, there was growth, and it's a decent sized show compared to other shows in the niche, so to speak. But in the last few months, it experienced tremendous success, or what I think is tremendous success. It's all relative. To me, it's tremendous success. So I had to wait 5 years for that. It's 2017, 2022. There was a lot of times when I was like, it's not working out. I mean, we have guys like you guys that are watching right now or listening in the podcast. A lot of you go way back to the beginning, and there's a lot of loyal listeners. But I'm talking to myself, I'm like, these guys don't like this show. This isn't going anywhere. This isn't doing anything. And I should just stop this. I should just figure out something else I can do. And there was a couple times when I just about did that. And you just can't do that. You got to be strong enough to fight off that urge to quit, especially when you're doing well enough where you're taking care of yourself. You got to fight off that urge to just say, I just want something less stressful. I don't want to do this anymore. You just can't do that. We're men. We can't do that. We can't say, I don't want to do this anymore, because that's not an option. You got to live your life. I think there's a complex out there of, let's call it dreamer syndrome, thinking that you're going to realize some kind of magnificent dream. But I think we missed the point on what that dream actually is. We think that there is something like, I don't know, like the Wolf of Wall Street before the end of the movie, or before he goes to prison or whatever. Like the part where he has like the boat and he's having a great time and Margot Robbie is throwing herself on top of him. We all think that the American dream will end up like that. And I don't think that's what it means. I think what it means is you work hard and you bust your butt, but you have to keep doing it your whole life. And you take care of your family. And when when you're old and your family's talking about you, like you go to a wedding and it's your son's wedding, and your son says, "I could have done this without my dad. He worked 2 jobs for a while." That's the kind of praise that we have to live for, because there's not going to be anything else. There's no one coming around to say, "Hey, great job, champ," and patting you on the back. Because once you're a man, you're on your own. And it's just how it's designed. It's how it's supposed to be. There is people to turn to, and we may talk about that guy later because he ties into our story for today, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, I'll bring that back up. So, yeah, I think I wrote down here, staying the course can be the hardest thing to do, and talent does not equal success. So no matter what you are, if you are a talented businessman or a talented service tech or a talented installer or a talented ballroom dancer, that last one doesn't belong, but that doesn't mean you're going to have success, because the old phrase is crap happens. That's a modified version of the phrase. Crap happens. And I'll tell you, here's the example of crap happening. Okay. 2013. And a lot of you guys know this story, and I'm telling you the stories. You're like, oh man, that's tough. I'm telling you the story to illustrate the point, because well, let's just tell the story and I'll get into it. So 2013, my business had been open for 4 years. I was doing a pretty good deal of business at that point. I started out doing practically nothing. Some of you might remember I was making 30 grand that first year. 30 grand don't pay for nothing. 30 grand don't pay for nothing back in 2009, and it pays for even less. 2022, 30 grand get you a carton of milk. You know what I'm saying? Thanks, inflation. Appreciate it. But back then, that was nothing. So after 3 or 4 years, I made enough money. I had money in my pocket. We bought some cars, and I paid cash for those cars, and I thought I was a high roller. It was $6,000, not $20,000. So it wasn't a lot of money. But I got to pay cash, and I felt like I was Trump. I felt like this is awesome. I just bought a car. I didn't have to take out a loan. And I was high-fiving myself virtually, I would have done it, I want to duplicate myself just to high-five myself. I felt fantastic. But here's what happens, and you have no control over what happens in your life. If you guys think you can still control your life, you need to think again. There ain't no control in life. You're like a river rock at the bottom of a raging river, and you can try to steer yourself, and you get little bits in one direction, but you're along for the ride. It was a morning. It was 2013. I don't know what I was doing that day. I don't know what was going on. I was sitting on the couch watching TV. I'm sure that this was one of the things where I was about to head out and probably do some service calls, and all I hear is a thud. And I hear a thud, but it didn't really alarm me that much. It wasn't extremely loud. It wasn't crazy loud, so I just kind of sat there and kept watching television. But an excess amount of time went by. My wife was ironing something in the other room, in our bedroom. So I got up. And I walked in there. My wife was on the floor. She had just finished seizing and was not coming to, but she was in that after state. For any of you who are familiar with epilepsy, she was in the after state where she was just kind of sitting there staring off into nowhere. It was going to be typically 20 or 30 minutes or more before she can really regain her faculty. So she's sitting there on the floor, and I can tell that she's had a seizure. I wasn't familiar with it completely, but that's my assumption was she had a seizure. So I called the rescue squad. The rescue squad came out there. She went to the hospital. They gave her something like kind of anti-seizure, probably Ativan or something like that. We came back home that night. I was like, what's going on? So in a state of disbelief, and she did it again. For the next few years, we would wrestle with that happening over and over and over again. Not always in that intensity, like multiple a day. That didn't happen a whole lot. But because after that, they would prescribe medication. But after a few years, it's improved. It's much improved now. In fact, it's pretty much, gone away now due to the medication that she's on. But that destroyed any ability of mine to schedule anything. at work. It didn't matter how hard I was working. It didn't matter what I would do, because I would go to work, and we have 3 kids at this time. I would drop off the kids somewhere, and because, she can't drive until she's cleared. So I'm driving everybody. She can't be behind the wheel of a car until she's cleared. And that didn't happen until much later. I drop them off, I go to work, but I might get a phone call. Or I might get a text with a bunch of jumbled up letters. There's nothing you guys can do about some of this stuff. There's nothing you can do, and that is one of the reasons why I now believe that we have no control over what happens in our life. We are just along for the ride. We are just along for the ride. So, and you can't account for that. But through all that crap, you have to move forward. And it just seems like, and I'm putting this out here for multiple reasons. I'm putting it out here to say that there are other people out there that have experienced things like you guys have most likely experienced something like this, at least some of you. And experiencing this stuff, you feel alone. You feel by yourself. You feel like you have the world on your shoulders and everything is crushing down on you. And I'm here to tell you, first and foremost, you're not alone. Okay? At the very least, you can reach out to me. Everybody's got my contact information. It flashes on the screen all the time. Do not hesitate to reach out to me and apply the same rules I tell you every time, guys. Just if I don't get it or respond, it's because I missed it, and you just keep doing it. If you have an issue, it's like, hey man, I'm having a really rough time. I'm struggling by myself, but I'm going to reach out to you, and we'll share the rough time together. Man, we can tell some war stories about stuff we've done, because it gets to a point where all you want to do is be a tech. You just want to go out there and fix something. It's no longer do you want to find work. You just want to be able to go do the work that you found, and you can't, and you're stuck. It's tough. It's tough, guys. I see some of you out there in the chat have had similar situations popping up already. I see Iconalana Bag Attacker said his wife had a hemorrhagic stroke in August last year. It's been tough ever since. 24/7 is gone, and you have to keep someone with her. It is intense. Life's not fair. Not one little bit. And I think our society is trying to even things out all the time. It's nothing that can be done for it. Some lives roll easier than others, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change it, and you thank God if it's easy life, and you lean on God if it's not. You lean on him either way, but you definitely lean on him when it's not. Jerry Lockhart says 3 of my kids are partially disabled. To a certain degree, I don't know exactly what he's referring to, what disability, but I understand that. My kids have autism. It is high-functioning autism. It used to be called Asperger's. They don't call it that anymore, but any of you who are familiar with Asperger's syndrome, if you watch one video on YouTube about someone with Asperger's, you would likely be able to spot them in public after that. It's just a lot of social inability to socialize. A lot of times there's not savant, because savant's a term that's very specific that refers to a very small amount of people, but you have an increased ability in some area. For my children, it's mathematics, it seems like. So, and guys, it's not even that bad for me. We've dealt with it at a very young age. My wife intervened. My wife went to school to be the person that treats it. So they were well taken care of, and you see, they're doing really well now. One of my sons is off at college, and one of my sons is first in his class. And and like he likes to tell us, he doesn't study. So I didn't study either. When I was in high school, I didn't have to study very much either. I was pretty good with high school. But by the end of high school and into college, I darn sure had to study. And I'm sure that he had he's going to have to do the same thing. So Sam says Elon Musk has Asperger's. That he does look like somebody that has some sort of autistic tendency, and I think Elon Musk is hilarious. I don't know if he's trying to be funny or not, but he's hilarious. Blue Air says God will always give you a path. It is up to you to follow it. Jerry Lockhart says MS, autism, hypoplastic left ventricle, heart. I'm not sure what that is. I have that looks like a myriad of things though, Jerry. So that's a tough one. We got to lean on each other, guys. We got to be there for each other with these situations. Cut the BS, all the junk that happens out there with guys that are on the internet or guys in the trade. We have to be there for each other. That's what it's all about. Okay? So this is what I entitled Grinding It Out. It looked like it went way longer than I thought it was going to go, which is fine. It went way longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break, and then I was going to talk about something I saw. Actually, Ralph sent it to me. Show you guys kind of a lighter note, a little bit lighter note, a little bit less heavy. So whenever we come back from the break, I will we'll talk about that a little bit. So guys, I'll see you in just a moment. Company Cam is the only app every contractor needs. Document your jobs, communicate with your crews, cover your company's butt. Every photo and video taken with Company Cam is always attached to a project, geotagged, date and time stamped, and user attributed. With Company Cam, you can impress your customers by showing them real-time progress, give them a full scope of your work, and show the proof at the times when you need to. Company Cam is also compatible with many, many different integrations, including apps like Jobber and House Call Pro. You can try Company Cam for free for 14 days, so head over to companycam.com to learn more. The best forced air zoning controls in the HVAC industry come from EWC Controls. This includes the Workhorse BM Plus 3000 zone panel, 3 zones, multiple dip switches so you can customize the controls to your particular system install. Another workhorse of the system is the URD and ND dampers. These power open, power closed dampers are both reliable and long lasting. So for the entire life of your system, you won't be replacing your zoning components. And lastly, the innovative SBD2 static pressure bypass with the wireless NFC interface take this whole thing to a new level of precision and reliability, because you can set your system right there at your fingertips to the particular static pressure you need. No more guesswork, no more barometric arms. Go to EWC Controls Incorporated. You can find them online to learn more, and look for them in your local supply house. All right, guys, something that I had been sent by Ralph. You know, it's going to be interesting if Ralph sends me something. It's like a link, and I have to be wary of Ralph's links because you never know where you're going to end up, typically on Facebook with somebody arguing in traffic or something. But this was actually something I was familiar with, but it's just kind of, this is funny to me, but let's take a look at this. This is actually the Midea 8,000 BTU U-shaped air conditioner. Now, I think this thing is really neat, and I'm not trying to be stupid or something right here. It's a window air conditioner, and we're all air conditioning specialists, and I'm not saying that these things are going to replace all of us, but this is an interesting machine because it is actually something where, let me see if I can bring up the picture here. It's U-shaped, so the window that you put it in actually shuts in between the compressor and the evaporator section. I think that's brilliant. It makes it a lot quieter, and it makes it just a lot better because you can open and shut the window while the thing is sitting in the window, which I think is pretty cool. But here's the interesting part for me. This is why I bring it up. Window air conditioning is not an efficient system. Typically, the EERs are like 9 or 10 or something like that. The ones that I was familiar with are like 9 or 10. This thing is much different. This is 8,000 BTU U-shaped air conditioner. The model number is MAW08V1QWT, and they probably sell it on Amazon or whatever. It says 3-step installation. I watched a video on installation. There's a lot more than 3 steps. There's all this crap you got to put together, so I don't know about that. It says it's 42 decibels. That's on like low speed though, and then it goes up to like almost 50 decibels. But 42 is pretty quiet. Anybody who's ever had a window unit out knows that that's relatively quiet compared to most window units. This is crazy. And powerful, quick cooling. I'm skipping all that crap because I'm just going to go to specifications. So I'm looking at the full specifications here. It's 8,000 BTU. Now here's the part that took my attention. Check this out. They call it CEER. I don't know what that means. I think about SEER. 15 BTUs per hour per watt. That's 15 SEER. So if they think of 15 SEER, most of the time, if the person hasn't upgraded to a nice new system, you slap a few of those in there. Theoretically, it should be more efficient than the air conditioner you have installed, which is kind of funny because typically they are not very efficient. Also, you get 250 CFM on high and low is 150 CFM, but it has R32 refrigerant, which I thought was pretty interesting as well. So many of the things out there have R32 refrigerant, and it makes you think that why didn't it just go with R32 for everybody? They should just gone with R32 for everybody. Everything else is pretty standard stuff. I didn't see anything that kind of jumped out. It's not that big, 21 by 19 by 13. It's got a 1-year parts and labor warranty. Wow, that's not bad. Well, since we're here, let's look at the 12,000 BTU real quick. Man, oh man, let's see here. Ultra quiet. I'm just curious how quiet it is. I know this is kind of goofy, but I just had to find out. I want to know the specifications. Did I hit that right? Full specifications. Let's see. 15, yeah, it says 15 SEER on that one too. Doesn't do heating. That's fine, whatever. It's not perfect for sure. And has 277 CFM. And that's another thing I wonder. How are these machines set up where you have 277 CFM instead of like 350 or 400? That's what I was thinking. It's kind of weird. I'm not sure. Let's see here. I don't think there's anything else interesting about these, but I thought that was pretty trippy. And of course, the reviews on here, they're going to be like, hey, these things are the best. I've never seen anything better than this. These are awesome. These are the greatest, guys. Let's see. Hey, let's check and see what our chat guys are up to. Let's go to the chat real quick. Let's see. There is the Nightbot things again. So if you want to sign up for the email list, the membership, or Instagram, you can click one of those links. My guess or my advice would be to wait till there's like a break before in between segments. If you want to, then click them and you can come back. And they called this thing an inverter, this unit. I don't see anything on here that talked about it being an inverter, but I'm pretty sure someone called it an inverter. Now I'm kind of curious. I don't know. But if you were like in a pinch, because this thing was like $400, so it's not that much more expensive than like a regular window unit, or the 8,000 was $400. So it's more expensive, but it's just kind of a trip. It's a trip to me that this thing is even in existence. All right, let's see, guys. What is the chat talking about here? We have Za says, no, I'm not Tuna. And Tuna says, you proud of that? And Za says, Tuna, when you're a blue-collar Southern boy, we cuss. There's not a lot of HVAC techs that do not cuss around here. Well, I don't cuss. Not for the most part. I try not to cuss. And I think that's a good idea to try not to cuss. I think that's definitely a beneficial thing to do that. But also, it's not the end of the world if you let out a cuss word, for sure. And I don't know, man. I got to look for like the inverter thing. I don't see anything on here that says anything about inverter. There are manuals, but I don't think we're going to find anything else. I just thought it was interesting. Ralph sent it over here. I was like, man, what is this thing? What is this thing? Okay, so I think we have a natural segue right here, and I'm going to talk about the little subject I alluded to at the beginning of the show. And I think, yeah, because I have one more thing, but I think we'll probably save that for next show. It was kind of a funny thing about dual run capacitors, but we won't have to do that today. They will be fine in the future, I'm sure. So here's what I wanted to discuss this month, and I was talking about before how important channel memberships were, at least to the show, is what I'm saying. Channel memberships to the show are very important, and it is for the following reason. A few days ago, I got an email from a sponsor that they were going to discontinue sponsoring this show, but not because it wasn't beneficial for them as far as their business. And I've actually had 2 sponsors are leaving this month. One of them is just the time the contract's up, and then the other one is they decided to leave, and that's the one I'm talking about right here. I'm not going to tell you what sponsor it is because that's not appropriate. That's not the reason for the story. In fact, I hold no ill will toward either one of them. The story revolves around something else. So they're leaving the show, and the reason they cited is because a liability concern for the show. And the reason that they feel that they're having liability issues is because that I bring up the Bible on this show. And they don't want to be affiliated with people who bring up religious subjects because they fear that they will be sued because the show talks about religious subjects. When I got the email, I was taken aback because, first of all, I mean, I have a Bible study that I used to do online. I have a channel that I just read the Bible on, but typically I don't bring it over here a whole lot. You see it every now and then, but it's not here a whole lot, and I thought it was kind of interesting. And I'm curious what she actually heard, because she must have heard something and been like, oh no. Or, you know, sometimes people use this as a segue if they want to make a decision, or there's various reasons why people want to sever ties. But this was the reason that was highlighted. So I thought about this. I said, well, what am I to think about something like this? And there's several options that would appear. The first option is, okay, let me just not take about that. Let me just not put stuff like that on the show anymore. I could take it off. And I wouldn't have to worry about this again. I could email her back and say, hey, don't worry about this. I'll take this stuff off. You don't have to worry about it anymore. That was option one. Okay? You guys know I didn't take that option. There's all of you who have watched the show for a while know that's not happening. Option two is you just blast your guts out. You just go back and say, well, this is just a mess, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe this. I didn't do that either. Like I said, I hold no ill will toward them. I think it's misguided. I feel bad for them. Number three, I sent her a message back and said, that's unfortunate that you believe that. My belief is that the principles that the Bible highlights and the teachings of the Bible, just at face value, without believing in anything that it says, are beneficial to both being a service tech and being a person. Stopping short of even talking about believing in any of it, just the principles that it talks about are important enough and significant enough to be beneficial to every person. So I decided just to move on and continue doing what I'm doing. And it reinforced something with me that there's been times I was like, should I talk about this stuff tonight? Maybe I won't, maybe I will. And it reinforces something with me, and I've heard it from guys who watch the show. Some of you watching now might be some of those who be like, I don't want to hear stuff like this. I came here for HVAC. I don't want to hear that stuff. I understand that. You came here for HVAC, and it is HVAC Shop Talk. But HVAC Shop Talk, the whole thing, the whole apparatus is just me. I invented it 5 years ago. It's all about, it's just I'm doing all the stuff. All the videos you see I've edited. There's no one else helping me with not a single thing here. Ever. It's always stuff that I've done, and I'm not bragging about that. I'm just saying it's all coming from me. And I'm a person that has developed into someone who believes that the Bible holds the Word of God. The Word of God, in that God's Son, Christ Jesus, came down here. He died for us as part of just the most spectacularly beautiful and intelligent plan in order to save as many of us as he possibly could. I 100% believe that. I 100% think that it is something that if you don't tell people, you are robbing them of a chance at eternal life. And so I won't have that sponsor. I don't have another sponsor. And I'm not changing nary a thing. Because if someone comes into my yard and hauls away my cars, and if I'm living on the street, at least I can live on the street being happy and saying that I did everything I could in God's eyes, and I'm not worried one bit about anybody else's. Some of you don't share my belief. And I probably sound like a lunatic to you, but I assure you I am not a lunatic. And if you have one shred of curiosity, I would pursue knowledge in this area to highlight the significance of what I am telling you. Because I know it's significant because they're not my words. I can only tell you what the words did to me. And I hope it happens for you too. And again, we go back to the beginning of this show. I'm not guaranteeing you an easy life. And he's not either. He's just guaranteeing you a pretty good deal once life is over. And while you're down here, it's a heck of a lot easier to deal with things if you got him on your side and you're leaning on him. Now, guys, some of you guys don't agree with that. This show is 90%, 95% HVAC related. Even the things that stray away from the subject have something to do with the subject. I guarantee you this is 100% has everything to do with this subject. Because the man you are when you leave the house in the morning dictates whether you're going to be happy with your job, whether you're going to be courteous to people, whether you're going to treat people right. All this stuff comes back to godly principles. And I'll tell you, talk about the golden rule. The golden rule is straight from the Bible. Do unto others as you want them to do to you. That's straight from the Bible. We probably talked about it on here. I think I've talked about it on here already. But there are so many things that the Bible highlights that can benefit you guys. And you already know it. A lot of you already know it. And I know that there's some people that just maybe clicked off of this stream. That is the danger of this. And it's not dangerous and dangerous to me. I'm fine with it. Click away. I don't want you to, but I'm not going to cry over it either because it's too important just to hide it. It's too important just to hide it, guys. Okay. Again, I'm not going to drone on about it either because I made my point. I don't want to beat it. People are like, okay, you made your point. Okay, I made my point. But I'm not going to hesitate to use this to, I think, make anyone's life on here better, make their job better, HVAC, outside of HVAC. Why not put them together every now and then and have a subject that can highlight both of those things? And this is the subject for today. This is from Mark. This is the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, verse 41. And the reason why I'm reading this is because it highlights the sacrifices that some of us make in our family life, to our families, to God, and how it's not just about a rich man. How can I say this? You may have nothing, but you can give everything of what you have. And this is what I'm talking about. All right, this is called the widow's offering. And Jesus sat down near the collection box in the temple and watched as the crowds dropped in all of their money. Many rich people put in large amounts. Then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I tell you the truth, this poor widow has given more than all the others who are making contributions. For they gave a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything she had to live on. So when I read that, now that's what I found today, because I wanted to find something to read to you guys. The reason why that's significant is because I don't want to be someone who gives just a small fraction. I don't want to come on here and say, dual run capacitors, here's the best one, here's the worst one, and Jesus is great, bye. I want to give you more than that. I talked about the memberships because that's 2 sponsors. I'm not changing the way I do things. The people who are members of this channel are the ones who are going to make all the difference. I sincerely believe that. I'm not telling you to do anything, but I'm telling you that that's going to make a difference on this channel. If that's something you support, that's something you want to be a part of, I hope you do. I really hope you do. Like I said, I'm not changing nothing. I can't change anything. All right, guys. You know what? Honestly, I kind of took it out of me, I'll be honest with you. It's something that I struggle with because I want to do right by the people who watch the show, but I can't hide from what I think is one of the most important lessons. I just can't do it. So consider being a member of this channel. Consider what I told you. If you want to read this every now and then, it's going to take you to a level that no service book is going to take you to. It's going to take you to a level no sales book can take you to, because, I mean, it's just not possible. Because when this whole thing is done, none of this crap actually matters. None of the capacitors matter. The air conditioners don't matter. And I know I'm going to have to close out the show after this because I'm getting so excited and stuff like that. It's just going to be too much. We'll have to pick up on everything on Tuesday. I know it. But none of the stuff, the Knipex tools, the Milwaukee M18, the Train air conditioner, the class you took, it's all good to be prepared and do a good job. But in the end, that is fleeting and that goes away. You don't get to keep that with you. No amount of knowledge is going to save you. No amount of money can save you. The book I just showed you, that can save you. I think I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Just think about what I said. I will be back. I didn't mean to go into a whole long thing about that. For those of you who maybe don't know all that I'm talking about, just consider what I'm saying. I didn't mean to take up a whole show with it, but I think it's important. I will be back on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. We will have some more show there. And Skilled Trade Up will be back. We'll have... I don't think we're going to have a guest on Tuesday. I would like to have a guest maybe once a week. And I was going to get Tersh to come back and talk about some stuff, but I haven't talked to him again. He was out of town. So let's go with Tuesday. We're going to take some calls. Let's do some calls on Tuesday because I was going to take calls tonight, but you see how that worked out. So we'll take calls on Tuesday, maybe play a little Skilled Trade Up and see how our calls go. And we'll just take it from there, guys. This podcast will be out on Wednesday. The one you're listening to right now will be coming out on Wednesday. There'll be another podcast on Monday from last Thursday's show, and so on and so on. And guys, let me not drone on forever. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you, guys.